Education today isn't just about textbooks and exams. It's about preparing future generations with the real world skills, cross border exposure, and the ability to thrive in a globalized world. Blue Sky Education is building exactly that edu experiences that shape careers and lives. So, welcome to the seventh video of the series 100 Days, 100 Brands, 100 Stories. There are thousands of brilliant brands out there constantly changing the world, and this is one of them. Today, we're going to learn about a pedagogical brand led by an inspiring woman and their inspiring story. So, I'm here with Mai. She is the co founder of the brand Blue Sky Education. So, welcome to the series, Mai. And before I give the mic to you, sorry, you already have the mic. I'll just introduce her a bit. So, born and raised in Vietnam, Mai has built an impressive career in education and business development, holding leadership roles at institutions like NCR, where she focused on recruitment and business development across Asia Pacific. And at the National University of Singapore, she deepened her impact in higher education. Mai also holds an MBA from Macquarie Business School, my school, and also has a certificate in global management from INSEAD, grounding her expertise in both business strategy and global education. Today, May is the co founder of Blue Sky Education, where she leads the Australian arm of the company. So, May, welcome to the series. So how is your day going? How do you feel today about it?
Well, thank you for having me, Param. It's great to be here. As we talked last time, I'm excited to be here and share my story. Today, actually, I haven't done much at all. I just got back from London, a long work trip and a little family holiday. But yeah, happy to be back here where I was a student until last November.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, how has your day been so far?
Today, well, we just finished a round of Q&A with your class,
Yeah.
with the Master in International Business at Macquarie Business School. And I was one of the 4 guest speakers from the industry. Today was the second time that we came back to campus to take questions from the groups who are working on our case studies. And next week, we'll be back again for the presentation.
Nice. So let's start. So, my first question. Um, so, for the audience who are new to Blue Sky, so what does the brand do, and what are the problems you're trying to solve?
Yeah. Well, for those of you who do not know about Blue Sky Education just yet, this is one of our brochures, actually, Blue Sky Education. We are a global company. We're 10 years old. We would be 10 years old in 2026. At the core of our business is that we want to be one of the leading in Asia Pacific service provider or educator or educational tourism company, focusing on the K-12 segment. And the challenge that we're trying to solve, it's not really a challenge, but if I can take you back to the day that we got the idea how we would like to start a company. So we're operating in the industry of ESL. If you are in the industry, you would know that learning English as a second language has been a very popular, a big industry for many years. Well, for those of you from India, your English is almost your native language. But for our students who are from Vietnam, Hong Kong, Taiwan, or China, or Japan, English is still a very important aspect of their education because it opens a gateway to the world, like you said in the introduction. So operating in ESL industry, when we first started the business, we noticed that a lot of tours just taught the student a very, very kind of boring content, how to introduce themselves, how to ask for direction. Very textbook, right? Practicing their language, but in a very scripted way. And we thought that, study tour should be fun. They should learn something that would stay with them, that they will remember, or learn something that they could not learn back home. So the initial idea was just put a theme on a study tour. How about instead of learning just ESL study tour, we have public speaking study tour, which focusing on presentation, confidence, engagement. How about we put a theme, let's say business and startup for teens, just to teach them about markets, consumer behaviors, and basic concepts in business. And these days we have expanded our skills to other topics, including word of science. We want them to know and learn a lot from experiments and learning by doing experiments. So to answer your question, Param, our I wouldn't say that we try to solve a very big problem. We see the industry as a very long-standing industry, and we wanted to do something different that our customers and end users would appreciate.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, May. So I saw that both you and your co-founder, Jessica, her name is Jessica. So they come from a very rich personal experience background. Jessica being an international student, has been an international student in the United States, and you have years of experience in business development and across Singapore, US, and recently completed your education, your master's, your MBA in Australia. So, how did your personal journeys had a crossing, and as in how did it shape the vision of Blue Sky?
Yes. So I think that's very much the story of how Blue Sky was born. Um, you know, Jessica, my co-founder, and my sister as well. Both of us, if you talk to both of us will give you the same answer. We do believe that education, quality education, has a potential of change somebody's life. And for me, the experience of just a little bit of background. Jess and I come from a middle-class Vietnamese traditional family. We didn't have a lot of resources. We were two of the three siblings. Our parents are working class. My mom was a teacher, a school teacher. My dad was entrepreneur himself, working different jobs. So for the longest, time that we could remember when we were growing up in our teens, there was a strong focus on education very early on. And 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 for me, my first time that I went abroad was when I was 19.
Oh,
19 years old, first time on an airplane. And the first country that I ever visited was Thailand.
okay.
So that experience, and the first time that I went abroad for a educational program was when I was probably 22, 24. And nowadays, the students got a lot more opportunity to travel before they turn 15. Yeah, but in my generation, I never saw the world until I was 24. And I think what it did to me was that by spending time in the US when I was 24, first time living, studying abroad, at that time, I thought that, okay, if I could be here, I could study well, I can work well, I can do that in anywhere else in the world, in different countries. So it gave me a lot of confidence and reassurance that now I have access to the world, not just my home native country anymore. So I think that story and also the journey that Jess and I went through when we were in our younger years, one more time highlighted the fact that education in the formative years can have the power to inspire a student, give her or him the confidence and the ability that the world is your oyster. Indeed, regardless of where you come from, you can come from a very small village like we did, and you can work in the US, you can study in Australia, you can start your business, you can have a career anywhere you want. So yep, that's exactly what what we are trying to do as a company. We want to give students at early age in K-12, right? When before they even turn 18, the opportunity to see the world beyond their native land. And we only hope that that opens up their mind in such a way that they would believe they can come back. They can work hard, study hard, and they go far beyond where they were born.
I think it does matter in terms of how much open you are to new experiences. As in, once you have those experiences, the global connectedness and everything. Like as you shared that you went to US, went to Thailand at the age of 19. So when you go abroad and have such experiences, I think it shapes your mind with respect to that how the world operates and how people are so connected. As in, because I know that when I was back in India and when I moved back to Sydney, when I moved for my first time to Sydney, I had also a lot of questions in my head, like how it's gonna be, how I'm gonna interact with people, how I'm gonna present myself, and I had a lot of stereotypes in mind. But it got just all washed away when I had the experience of feeling that as a human, like as in, you have those experiences that does show that people do value you and people like you can find your like-minded people, so it does matter. So What was the age you said that you target, like for the students?
Yep. So Blue Sky programs are for students starting from the age of 10 to the age of pre-university 17. So we cover pretty much K-12 system, and we have a wide range of products.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier we have the best-selling product right now is public speaking camp, which is about 2 weeks or 10 days or 3 weeks, short recreational English learning, but also fun, a lot of interaction. At the end of the program, student would have to present. Imagine those are 13, even 12 years old students from a country where English is not the native language. And yet they have to learn, overcome the fear, have to get on stage and present in front of the big class, actually. Some of our camps can have 100 and 150 students, big group, plus teachers. So easily a big room full of people. And those 14, 13 years old teenagers from various countries, Vietnam, Taiwan, China, and Japan, they work on their speech, a prepared, a rehearsed speech up to 5 minutes. And we call that finale. And that's when they showcase what they learn and present on the topic.
Okay, so that's pretty young age actually, because I just think in my age when I was 12, I was just like playing around. So but it does grow you as a personality and get you into the global leadership or required skills. It prepares you for that. But again, how does a child prepare himself for such experiences? Because it's just an immature age. Like as in taking that decision itself is a big thing.
Yep, that's true. That's true. For very young students, well, their presentations tend to be more simplified. I give an example. Young students, we encourage them to talk about topics that is closer to their heart. I remember some students talk about family meals, the value of eating together, coming back to the same table at the end of the day and sharing a meal. One student from Japan talk about just simple topic like that. Some students talk about their favorite holiday, or their family. So very simple topic. But as you can see, students with a little bit more maturity, 14, 15 years old, and also a little bit more advanced English vocabulary, they tend to talk about very various topics. Some talk about mental health, which blew me away. At such a young age, they are aware of very important topics such as mental health. Another student talk about how to protect the Great Barrier Reef of Australia, which is
Wow.
amazing. They did their research online. They look at all kinds of data, information. They have their own opinion. Some students even talk about a very controversial topic. Let me see. I think few months ago, we had a group from Japan, Taiwan, and Vietnam, and Hong Kong as well. And one of the girls in that group, they talk about why you should always go with unpopular opinion. Like something very surprising for a 13 years old to talk about. And she argued that, because people don't support it, maybe because they don't know it yet, or they have fear of something. But if you go and overcome that, it opens up. And she gave you a good example of how that can be done. So so topic can vary from a very simplistic, family, close to your heart kind of topic to a lot more abstract ideas.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Mai. My third question. So Blue Sky is such a evocative name. So how did you come up with it, and what does it symbolize for your mission?
Yeah. Well, the name of our company, Blue Sky, was indeed to the credit of my co-founder, Jessica. When we started the business about 10 years ago, that was her idea. And Blue Sky represents the endless opportunity. You open your eyes, you look up, the sky is limitless. So we took the idea that the sky is limitless because nobody knows the boundary of the sky or nobody can measure the boundary of the sky.
Makes sense.
And also, we went with that idea to suggest that with education, you really open up so much more than you can ever imagine. The world is your oyster. With the right education, inspire at the young age. You put in hard work, you put in effort. We want you to have the life in front of you as limitless as the blue sky.
That's beautiful, actually. Sublime. Um, cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm.
So, my next question: the vision that you have is to impact 10 million lives in 50 countries by 2030, as you have stated. So that's very bold. Like it's a very big vision. So, how do you practically see that coming to reality?
It is our aspiration, yep, to impact 10 million by 2030. 2030 is not too far off. It's 5 years from today.
Yeah.
So definitely we're not there yet. We're not close to reaching that goal yet. But we want to set an aspiration goal in our mind. And, to achieve that, we would need to have a next step, introducing program that can impact a lot more people, not just those who can afford a trip to Australia. How are we translating that goal into reality? Slowly, I would say slowly, with our expansion of destinations. So we also believe that we offer our study tours around the world as well, not just Australia where we are based, but we also have study tour coming into Singapore, into Japan, Korea, China, Vietnam, Indonesia. So a lot of new destinations are being introduced as we speak, with the hope that we can cater to different families with different budgets and different age of the students. For example, younger students tend to prefer closer destinations like Singapore. Let's say somebody from Thailand, 10 years old, or from India, a trip to Singapore is a lot closer and less costly. And that would suit a lot of family with a little bit more limiting budget and younger children. And Australia is a further out destination, same as New Zealand, and it's tend to attract a bit older students. Yeah, so we're taking a little bit more steps in expanding our portfolio of destinations. We are now covering 9 countries, as I mentioned. So we went one step closer to the 10 million goal, but yeah, we're still far from it. Yeah.
So, so what are these 9 countries? Could you tell us?
Yep.
Please?
So Australia, Singapore, they are the 2 traditional, well, I would say the oldest destinations that we have been operating in for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the newer destinations include China, Japan, Korea, and in Southeast Asia, we have Indonesia, Bali. We're introducing a program.
Right.
We're focusing on a lot on community. Sri Lanka. Yeah, so I think New Zealand as well. We're introducing New Zealand in 2026. That's 8. I'm
Yeah.
missing 1.
Should be good. Like if
Yeah,
you're going to
should be
add on
8 or
later.
9. Yeah.
So you mentioned a point about affordability. So I think that definitely having a study tour or going to a new country comes at a cost. So what are the cost associations that are like, if you can share with that as well, like a bit on that.
Yeah, so indeed. So our program, different program length and focus will have the cost of anywhere between $250 to about 350 Australian dollars per day. And that includes everything, accommodation, airport transfer. But of course, if you're going for a 10-day program, it's a lot more affordable. Whereas if you're going for 3
Makes
or
sense.
4 weeks program, so that's a kind of average price. But of course, when it comes to students, the parents have to pay for air tickets, for insurance and visa and things like that, spending money.
Yeah.
So yes, we do understand that it's still a trip that costs quite a lot when you kind of tally up all the costs, right? And not all the family, can afford that amount of money. So one of the things that Jessica and I have been thinking is that in the coming years, we probably would like to have our foundation. We have started that already in the simpler form to support, like give scholarship to students from our village, from our small town in Vietnam where we were born. We gave that to Jessica's school actually, where she did her high school. It's a small amount of money. I think it was in the form of like a financial aid. But when we set up our foundation, hopefully in the coming years, we probably want to have it a more proper setup to, in the form of a trip, for example, to really to help those who cannot afford the program. And those people who cannot afford the program probably would have the biggest takeaway and benefit by being on our program.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. And you also mentioned that since you are expanding or expanded already in 9 countries and you're going to 50 countries. So there are a lot of Asian countries. So the culture shock won't be that of a hustle. But let's say to New Zealand and Australia, where the culture is more westernized. So in that countries, these students who are so much at a younger age, they may be immature. So how do they tackle with cultural shocks, or do you have how do you deal with the culture shocks that they have? So,
Well, culture shock is a real issue. It comes up in different forms. How do we deal with culture shock? Well, I think there's no way to really deal with it. You just have to solve it when the problem arises.
yeah.
Yes, when the student arrive, I think the most extreme, talking about culture difference is between Japan and Australia. Among all the Asian countries, Japan would be the top country in my list where they find it very difficult to communicate here. So working with Japanese students, we know that they're very comfortable giving feedback, but not directly to the family, the host family that are hosting them. Because they fear that if they raise a question or raise a request, the host might be offended. Or maybe like simple thing, like asking for things, like asking, could I have a different food? Because I prefer eating this over this, like making a small request. In Australia, is so normal. It doesn't have to have any negative connotation, right? It's like a request. But a lot of our students from Japan struggle with that. They don't know how to bring up a request. They feel that it's going to create negativity, and they rather not say it. So when things like that happen, I think the best thing we can do is to just coming in gently and remind them, you can talk to the host, maybe at dinner time, and, giving them specific recommendation, what to say. Or we do have briefing when the students arrive, talk about how to behave in Australia. We say hello in the morning, we greet them when we wake up in the morning, we greet them when we are back from school. If there's anything you need, you ask politely, please, things like that. But still, some students would struggle, and as simple as that, right? So I think the culture difference so deep and so surrounding all, it's like fabric of our life. It's hard to change that within 2 weeks of the program, but we hope that it's a start of a journey.
Yeah.
When they get home, or hopefully when they return, whether Australia or they choose a different country to study when they're older, some of this experience will continue on with their life experience.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thanks for sharing that, May. My next question. So one of our core offerings is study tour and experiential learning. So if you could share one such story of a student or group whose life changed like drastically after a Blue Sky program.
Well, I have one story. I don't know how you define life changing, but I think the story that I'm going to tell you is an interesting surprise for us. I believe that was about 3 years ago, right before COVID, we had a group of Vietnamese students participating in our 2-week-long public speaking and business, hosted at University of Western Australia. University of Western Sydney. Western Sydney University.
Yeah.
The campus in Campbelltown. And we had a big group, maybe easily 50 or 80 students from different schools in Vietnam. And fast forward this year, 2025, we were interviewing some casual staff to work on our program. And then there was this young gentleman, now probably 19 years old, first year studying at the hotel management university in Blue Mountain.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we interviewed him and he said, oh, well, he said, oh, I did your program before. Now I'm a student here. I'm just enrolled in the first year here. I'm doing internship at Sheraton Hotel. I'm back in Australia, and I saw that you were still looking for freelancer to work on a short program. Therefore, I interview and I want to work with you. So we said, who are you? We don't even remember him
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
had a lot of students. So he is an example of what we hope more of that would happen. He had a good experience in Australia that gave him some idea of where he would like to pursue a more formal education. He did take the opportunity to come back to Australia to do a degree, a 3 or 4 year program. And he liked what he experienced with us and he wanted to come back and work with us.
Oh,
And
nice.
now his turn in July, he welcomed and talked to students from Vietnam, maybe not the same school, but same country, and imparted on them the knowledge and the tips that he got here as a student, international student.
So is he working with you currently?
He worked with us for a short while, a
Mm-hmm.
short program, because we employ a lot of freelancers when we have groups in Australia. He worked for us for the Vietnamese camp. Yeah.
Okay. And so you mentioned that he's also helping them, the Vietnamese students, right? So you said that it's since 10 years the business is operating. So in these 10 years, has the program changed a bit? Because there are definitely new trends coming in. So have you, what were the major changes in the programs you had, like in these 10 years?
Well, 10 years we add some products, but we don't on purpose. We don't keep adding a lot
Mm-hmm.
because we know that we want to build our programs around the skills, the 21st century life skills. And if you look up different frameworks, let's say Australian education frameworks, they specify, I believe, about 9 or 10 skill sets that they believe education should prepare students for. So we pick some of that from that skill list. On the top of my head, like a cross-cultural awareness is one of them. Communication is another one. And critical thinking is another one. At least the top 3 out of the 9 or 10 21st century skills, right? Under Australian educational framework. So we want to build a program around those skills. We don't want just to pick up a random
Correct. Makes sense.
theme. So for example, communication, we choose public speaking as a theme. And for other theme, we develop slowly. So for the past 3 years, we have added 3 other products. So we have Word of Science, because we do see that STEM is important to pick student interest in science and technology, to introduce them to some simple concept, but fun way. We hope that would inspire them to pursue a career or a study further down the road in this area, technology or science, which we believe is very important for 21st century with,
It is correct. Yeah.
innovation. Yeah. So we have Word of Science as a theme. We have business and startup as a theme as well, because
Wow.
we also do think that these days, starting a business, you have seen young founders, right? A lot of them start their business when they're young, and we thought that if at high school level they learn something, they get inspired, they talk to other founders, that would give them the confidence and a little bit of inspiration to do that. So yeah, the theme that we're building are linked back to the 21st century skills that we want our students to really, take with them. Yeah.
It also builds a community around it. So, let's say you said about STEM and even startups and the business themes you have. So, those students who are in that cohort, they have a community around, and they can maybe possible they can have an own idea of their work together towards it,
Yes.
So, I've been in touch with a couple of I worked with UNSW founders recently. So interacted with few founders, their podcasted them as well, and I've got to learn about this guy. I'm not mentioning his name, but he is such a young guy. He's 18 or 19, and he has already a business of his own. And he's doing that. He's earning money. So it's just like it's
Impressive.
so creative that even at this age, you can, like, at a younger age, you can think about doing a business, which is like, which I'm actually thinking to do, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's so good. Like, yeah,
Mm.
thanks for saying.
And even if we inspire them to make them believe that they
Yeah,
can, it's a big step forward in their
true.
journey. I was blown away every time I see student presentation. So all our programs would have a finale. Finale is a pinnacle event at the end of the program, usually happening the night before or the day before their departure. So they've been studying, building up their presentations, drafting and redrafting their speech with the help of their teachers and peers for the course of 2 weeks or 10 days. And at the end, they have to deliver a presentation. And for our business and startup camp, they have to present a business idea. Yes, 14 years old, 15 years old.
Oh my God.
And one of the ideas that I thought, okay, quite interesting.
So they were
It,
focusing on the gaps.
yeah, well, yes, and it's incredible how young minds think of what the world needs. Yeah. So in the last camp, the Vietnamese group with Taiwan in one camp, I remember two very young girls. They probably not older than 14. Yeah, they're together. They work in pair. They presented the idea of their own to start a business for baby skincare. They said that they are young and they want to have skincare, like moisturizer, something like that. They go to the market. Most of the products are for adults. They could not find things for young skin, like very young skin. I don't know if they do need moisturizer. They have beautiful skin. But, they said, oh, there's nothing really for younger consumers. So we're proposing. And they came up with a very cute name, something pink moisturizer, something like that, to target the younger audience who would like to have a skincare product tailor-made to their age.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Imagine at the age of 14, you're thinking about
They think
business.
about that. They think about
Exactly. Just to
what the
think
world
about it, it's a
needs.
big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Mai. My next question. Mm, as a relatively young player in education, that's worked across Australia and countries like Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and much more, right? Um, what has been the biggest challenge in winning the trust and credibility with government, schools, and even the parents, especially because they are the deciders or end deciders, I would say, for their kids. So, yeah.
Winning trust, yes. Well, in the early days of the business, it was hard. It was hard to call up a school and say, we're from Blue Sky. They would say, what Blue Sky? Never heard of you guys. Why you're calling me? So of course, a lot of difficulty in early days. And as a business, 10 years ago, we approached the business in a very traditional way. We email people, cold call people, go to conferences and present our products and ask for their time. Can I talk to you about this? Hard work. But nowadays, I do feel that to retain the trust, right? You win the trust and you have to keep the trust. For me, the biggest lesson I learned as a co-founder of the business and working with so many clients is that I think we do win the trust when you do what you promise clients you would do. And it goes for small and big things in life. For example, it can be as simple as client wanted a proposal or quotation by this time, and you said you will deliver that by that date. No matter what, you should give them by that time. If you cannot, always explain and ask for extension. And I believe that it goes beyond as well. So what I told some of my clients is, some of them come to us and say, oh, we need help. It's a difficult situation. Could you help us? And I would think hard about that. But if we say yes, we would help you, we would definitely go all out and, offer our help. So in my journey, yes, sticking to what you promised the client. Sometimes we may think, oh, it's a small thing. Maybe client don't notice. They do.
Yeah.
They do
So,
notice big and small thing. So try, and we're all humans. So things slip through the crack. We have a lot of different priorities. Sometimes we overpromise and turns out we can't get everything done in the way that we would like, and we have to kind of, okay, maybe I should not promise that. But if you do make promise, keep them.
Makes sense. You have to be detail oriented with, because you may never know, like, are they noticing, are they not
Yeah.
noticing? So that's true. So there's one question I had, that during the COVID period, especially when the times were so tough, so did you had to shut the operations because it's like a study tour, right? Or if you did send after the COVID period to abroad, so how was the convincing or getting that credibility back? Like, how was that for you guys? Because it was a difficult time to handle. So,
It was indeed a very difficult time. COVID lasted for 2 years. During that time, yes, as you pointed out, we had to let go some of our team members in Australia and Singapore. We kept a very core small team, but had to let go a lot of our staff. Um, and after COVID, how do we win back the clients? So what we did during COVID was that we 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 kept a very small cohort team on the team, but we still made the point to stay in contact with our client throughout COVID, to show them that we're still around. You know, we have regular online meetings. We ask them, are you offering online programs? We're creating this online. We have to pivot into online, some online program at that time. One of the program that we created during COVID, you might have a laugh, yeah, now, but we have to come up with something. Otherwise, a business cannot survive
makes sense.
without having no revenue for 2 years. One of the products during COVID time was a virtual city tour. Because a typical experience on our camp, students would get to tour the city, tour the campus, beautiful campus, interview people, interact with local, international students and people that they met on the tour. And that cannot be achieved during COVID time. So we did a program that still introduced students to Australian high school, Australian university student. We call the program the online exchange. We call that the online exchange program. So we still let them sit together, present or dialogue, have a dialogue, but online.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we still create that connection. We try to replicate that connection. And that was a product that many of our Japanese clients love. They love that interaction. We replaced a face-to-face city tour with a virtual tour. We had our staff having a camera in front of her, walking around the city, introduce different landmarks, and then that same person would appear in the presentation and would interact with students on the
Oh,
program.
nice. So it
Yep.
feels a connection. So
Yes, yes. So
sense.
yes, we did try hard to pivot to some of the online offerings.
And how was after that, like, as in convincing parents?
Yeah, so we got some success, but definitely not to the scale that we would need to have for the business. And soon after, when the border in Australia reopened, I think that was 2022.
Yep.
Yeah, so about 2 years after COVID, Australian border reopened, and we still had some online program running for another year after COVID. But now most of the clients, they don't want just online anymore. They want a little bit of online, maybe an hour or 2 hours of introduction or pre-program teaching. But they value, because our business is in study tour, so it has a tourism element,
Correct.
which is hard to replace, right, with online content. So nowadays, client will, most of the time, I would say 90% of our client will have returned fully to in-person program, like a proper physical tour into Australia or other 9 destinations around the world. The online part, we still have some for selected clients, but not a lot.
And the follow-up question on that would be that, so a lot of businesses have changed their operations, not the entire operations, but aspects of the operation after COVID, like adapting to the COVID area. So has Blue Sky Education adapted to certain areas after the COVID period, or as compared to the before?
Mm.
So
Yeah, we have, and I would
sorry.
say, yep, is in the area of business operating procedures. So before COVID, yes, we did have our SOP, what to do when a student got sick, whose responsibility is it to take care of them, who's going to take them to the hospital, who's
Right.
going to give them medicine, who is authorized to give them medicine, like that sort of thing. We did have that procedure in place before COVID, but I think as a result of COVID, we strengthened that SOP more. We paid a bit more attention to the procedure related to students' safety and healthcare a bit more. Because during COVID, we had to be so vigilant and so careful with everything related to health and safety. So it does have a positive impact on how we look at our business. We also look at business a little bit more from risk perspective, because COVID was a massive risk that we did not see coming.
Yeah.
So as a business, we now think more, okay, what do we do if there's big risk like that, where roughly what action plan we would put in place? Yeah, so to answer your question, COVID does make us think a bit harder on certain topics.
Makes sense. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, May. A lot of topic on discussions on COVID. But yeah, I'll move on to the next question. Yes. So my next question is that we live in a world where edtech is booming, but many solutions are digital only. You're blending physical immersion with future ready skills. So why do you think that balance is so important?
Hmm. Why is it so important? You are right. EdTech is everywhere, right? Every educational company would like to become an EdTech. We included, we have our aspiration to be an EdTech, but a slightly different angle. However, we do believe that certain things cannot be replaced by digital offering.
Correct.
And tourism, experiential learning is one of those. Learning by doing things. For example, when students learn about why they should keep the beach clean and protect the environment, protect the ocean, the waterways, we took them to Manly Beach. We let them meet with a nonprofit organization co-founder of Imu Parade. Imu Parade is a community volunteer-based organization based in Manly, in Sydney. And what they do is that they organize regular volunteer event to clean up the beach by themselves. These people don't get paid. They are not asked to do it. They just feel from their heart they want to do it, because Manly is their home. The ocean is their waterfront, waterway. They want to do their part. So we took our students there. They would have a few hours of actually cleaning up the beach, picking up cigarette butts and plastic bottles, whatever they find in the sand. They collect them all, and they would look at, okay, what do we see here? And then they have a little bit of reflection. They talk to the founder, and then they talk about what they can do back home and back in school to minimize the waste from going into the ocean. Maybe they should, always bring their recyclable bottle. Maybe they should say no to taking a plastic bag for takeaway food, things like that. So how do you teach that digitally? I think it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. And a lot of the value we see in experiential learning, learning by doing things, I think it's still going to be hard to be fully replaced by technology.
Learning by doing. That's
Yeah.
so true. And you need an environment, a place, not digital, like literally a physical place to actually that makes the learning much better possible.
Yep. And there's another example to the point of learning by doing. How do you teach students empathy? Yeah, it's a concept. So how do you teach that? How do you teach students how to be, to maybe to give back, to help those who are less fortunate? So we took them to volunteer just half a day with a partner located near Bondi, Bondi Junction. The organization is by the name our Big Kitchen, OBK. our big kitchen.
Okay.
And OBK, our big kitchen organization, is a nonprofit, a charity. Their mission is to rescue food that are not used by different supermarkets or food donated to them that are not used but still in perfect condition. They have a kitchen, commercial, big kitchen. They cook the food, they package the food, and they distribute the food to the refugees, people who are living in refugees or people who are homeless, who wouldn't have a hot meal on a cold night. So our students were taken there. They listened to the founder and the manager of the organization. They talk about why they're doing this. And then our student actually had to cook food, have to cook a pasta dish that they did last July. And then they got to put their name and the name of the dish and the name of the group onto the package. And then they see that the food in an hour time would be picked up by a van and then would be distributed and would be consumed right that evening by some people who do not have hot food at home. So I think that's a beautiful way to teach students of empathy. You are able to help people and you should.
Serve the
Right.
community.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think it does build an empathy when it comes to practice, when it comes to connecting those people in need and helping them out. It does create an empathy. So it is actually not. It's I think the most important thing in today's world, that you should be able to empathize. That's a big, not skill, but um, a need, I would say, or maybe a soft skill you can say as well. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that, May. My next question now. Um, what advice would you give to students or even parents who are unsure if investing in international education is worth it?
Investing in international education,
Is worth
is
it?
it worth it or not? From our experience and our family story, is totally worth it. We wouldn't be here today. My co-founder Jess and I, we would not be here today and having the life that we're having the career, everything that we have is because of the education that we received from the young age. And before we got access to international education, we were given access to education, good education, in our home country.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, yes, quality education starts from home. For our family, our parents always emphasize, day after day, you have to study well. Asian parents, an Asian family, is usually the norm.
Right.
At that point, we didn't really understand why we had to do that way, why we had to study language. My dad gave us a small dictionary when we were in our secondary school. And he would say, you have to learn a language outside of your own language. So English, it is a dictionary. And at that point, we were probably 12, 13. We just, okay, we would do it. But of course, we would never understand what opportunity or what kind of impact it would have on our later life. So to parents who are still thinking of whether an international education is worth it, I think to answer that question, it depends on the families. Some families can afford it. Some family could not afford it. So I have to be honest in saying, yes, if you could afford it, it's the best gift that you can give to your child when she or he is still young, to see the world. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be far away, expensive destination. International experience can be to a neighboring country. My first trip was to Thailand from Vietnam. It was 3 hours away. But simply by being abroad, being in a different country, would have an enormous impact, that they can see the world is beyond what they see at home. There are people who speak different language than them. But then one day they would have the motivation or the desire, to venture out if that's their wish. And some child and families perfectly happy to have their kids educated domestically and stay within their country. There's no problem with that. I think a lot of countries now have really upgraded their education
Yep.
system. So going abroad is not a must anymore. But if you could afford it, I think it's a wonderful gift for
It's a
your
wonderful
child.
gift. That's true. And I think I've had the best of my experiences in Sydney.
Mm.
Lots of opportunities. The diversity is nice, and the culture. So, and even I'm able to grow myself personally. So yeah, I think it is a best gift, and it's like upbringing also matters a lot. Like as you mentioned this point, upbringing does matter a lot. How parents are communicating with the child. Some are just suppressive, some are just as in they left the child, and it does matter. So that's true. Thanks for sharing that, mate. My second last question.
Yeah.
Um, so looking ahead, what are the plans for Blue Sky's expansion, and how does it look now?
Our plan is really to grow our worldwide destination. So as I mentioned, as of today, we are offering study tours, different topics in 9 countries around the world, and we're very excited about that. We're excited to see increasing interest in Asia destinations. So our company, we're focusing on Asia Pacific. As you can see, all our destinations are in Asia Pacific, including Australia and New Zealand. East Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. That's our specialization. How does it look like? It looks promising and it looks exciting. I just came back from our industry conference. It's called Study Tour SD Travel Conference in London. It's a big conference. Thousands of people attend every year. Blue Sky, we are present annually as well at the London conference, where we met with a lot of agents, potential customers from Europe, from Latin, everywhere, from Romania, Russia, Spain, Italy, from Brazil, Chile, Argentina, everywhere, Asia as well, Hong
Nice.
Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And what we notice is that there's an increasing demand for study tours. Australia and New Zealand have always been a popular destination.
Correct.
However, European and Latin clients, they're fascinated by Asia because nobody has sent high school group to Japan, or not as common as tour to Australia
Correct.
or Canada or the US. There's huge interest in China, Korea, and Japan, as all our customers are looking for new destinations to introduce to the parents, introduce to the schools. They want to see what technology is developed in China. So one of our tours, we have a 3-week camp taking the student to 4 cities: Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, even Shenzhen 5, and Hong Kong. So during the course of 2 weeks, they visit multiple cities, big ones. They got to see and visit Alibaba campus. Massive visit for them to see the headquarters of Alibaba. They get to stay in a hotel operated by Alibaba, and there's no human in that hotel. There's
Oh,
only robots, servicing the hotel. They witnessed the technology development of China with that experience, and then they visited Huawei as well to talk. And they also attended some presentation on virtual vehicle. Driverless vehicle technology developed by some of those Chinese technology companies. So that was a wonderful experience, not just for the student to see a different country, eat different food, but I think it's more powerful than that. Now they know China technology is massive and impressive, more than what they can imagine. Before the trip, maybe they think of China as being outdated or overpopulated, a lot of old concepts, old biases about China. But look at modern China.
true.
It's impressive. It's leading the world in many
In the
ways.
tech industry
Yeah,
specifically, yeah.
yeah, tech in particular. And if you look up, you Google, you can find that China is up there in the top 10, if I'm not wrong, if not top 5 of EV adoption of EV vehicles, much more than Australia.
The BYD is
Yeah, the
expanding.
Chinese car, EV or EV hybrid cars, the adoption rate and the numbers of EV vehicles in the country in China, it's a lot more what you see here, even in Australia.
True, correct. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
And my last question. So I ask this to every founder I meet, I podcast. And what's that one thing that people don't see being a founder in the space? And if someone listening today can uh, take just one action away from what this conversation we had, so what would that be?
What you don't see behind the scene, from my experience, is countless moments of doubts. It's not like we had an idea, we jump into it, we quit our job. It took me a long time to quit my full-time job, to be fully committed to the business. It was a hard decision. You don't know how it's gonna survive. You have a good salary job, stability, and it's a risk that you're taking. A lot of things that the outside world don't see is those moments of doubts, right? Should I stay? Should I go? And for me, it's many moments of doubts. I think I'm leaving this. It's so hard. Why am I doing it? What I'm doing it for? Questioning my own motivation and questioning the direction moving forward. Should I be fully with it or should I not? There's many of moments like that I think the world doesn't quite see it as much. As for the second question, what would be one advice that I would give to young founders or those who are thinking of starting their own business? For me, the biggest learning from Blue Sky Story is that you may not have a life-changing idea. Not many people would have a truly life-changing business ideas. The top of my mind, I can think of Apple, like life-changing, or Airbnb, something that nobody has ever done before. Every day, people like us, if you set up your expectation that the idea that I would launch would have to be at that level, it's a dangerous expectation. I find that it's a better way to be more realistic, more humble as well. I may not have a Apple idea or Airbnb equivalent of idea. However, if I see something that kept kind of, captures my attention, something that I feel I know well, something that I feel I could do a better job, I think that's a good enough starting point, and not waiting until you come across the very mega big idea, because that big mega idea may never come, or you're sitting on it too long and you're losing your enthusiasm. So if you're thinking, I think a good and realistic way to start your business is to start in the industry that you know. For me, I've always been in education.
Yeah.
So I find that's a good place to start. Definitely not something that you have to learn from the beginning, how the industry works. To start with that, and don't wait until you feel that the idea has to be impressive. It doesn't have to be impressive to be a viable business. Business is all about, can you generate cash? Will people buy your product? And there are Apple products and there are everyday products that people still have to buy. You don't have to be up here. You can be entrepreneur at many different levels like this. So, start. If you really want to have business, I think you have to start right away and not waiting for the big idea to come or have to justify how this is the right idea. You just have to jump in, but of course, with caution. Start with something you know, network that you know, start with the market you know. And then your idea likely would evolve over time. Yeah.
Makes sense. And thanks for sharing that, May. And I think what you're doing is changing lives of students and even the future in general. Like, just imagine the next generation, the alpha, the beta generation coming in, if they are having that mindset to be world prepared, like to be globally prepared in terms of, let's say, the businesses or the problems they're trying to solve. Your story of sharing that a 14-year-old is caring about there's no product for baby skincare, it's inspiring. It's like, and there can be hundreds and millions of ideas like that that can actually impact the world in diverse ways and maybe improve the world in craziest ways you can imagine. So I'm very happy to do the podcast with you. So yes, and I'm very excited to see how Blue Sky grows and reaches the 50 countries you're planning to have the vision for by 2030. So yes, follow Blue Sky Education and witness the story they are creating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.